Hey, have a good day on the road. Time to bring this meeting to order. The Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District Governing Boardroom. It is March 28th and it's 5:01. Would everybody please stand for the pledge? Mr. Kramer, would you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Miss Susan Fobian. Joel Kramer.
Present.
Brad Beach.
Present.
Ms. Lourdes Vasquez.
Present.
And I'm here, Lynette Ramirez, so that makes 4 out of 5 of us, so we have a quorum. Adoption of agenda, Mr. Shadler.
There are no recommended changes. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So move.
A motion and a second, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Okay. Call to the public. Do we have any calls to the public? Okay, thank you. Moving right along. Rio Rico, excuse me, recognition.
Yes, this is.
Student recognition, Mr. Shadler.
Thank you, Mr. President. And so, as you know, we enjoyed some examples of our outstanding students here to the governing board when you had that opportunity to share what they've accomplished with you all. I'd like to invite Mr. Fanning. We have representatives, invite Mr. Fanning to the podium, and he has representatives from all 5 of our school sites that he would like to present.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, district administration. It gives me great pleasure to recognize 5 individual students from each school, 1 from each school. These students were chosen for all the great things that they are doing. And what a better way to start a board meeting than recognizing the reason why we're here, the students of Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District number 35. Each one of these students excels in one form or another, and looking for great things out of each and every one of them. And I'm going to start off with from San Cayetano. And if you would like to come up and stand next to me while I'm announcing, where's Christian at? Come on up, Christian. How are you?
He's been like.
Okay. Christian always exhibits a positive outlook and attitude in the classroom and around campus. He is easy to pick out of a crowd because he carries that outlook with him. You can see him dancing during our morning ceremonies. Among his friends, Christian is the one making them smile. You can tell they really enjoy his company and being around him. I have been impressed by the way Christian has carried himself this year. Since the beginning of the year, he always greets me with a friendly hi or how are you doing? Words that are so simple yet carry a lot of meaning. At the beginning or end of the school day, you'll see him proudly wearing his blue Sonic the Hedgehog backpack. This is one of his favorite movies. Earlier in the year, he would ask me if I had seen the second Sonic movie. He was one of the reasons I had to see it. And when I finally saw it, I was excited to tell him and talk about how it ended. I also mentioned to him that there is a 3rd one coming out, but that was old news to him. In all, Christian's kindness, great attitude, and the way he has channeled that positive energy since being a kinder cheetah through 3rd grade has made him an outstanding cheetah with character. And that comes directly from Mr. Armijo and San Cayetano administration. So, Christian, this says, Achievement Award presented to Christian de la Riva, San Cayetano Elementary School for outstanding achievement and continuous contributions to the success of your school and to Santa Cruz Valley USD number 35. Thank you for making our district above the bar. And that's signed by the superintendent and the 2 assistant superintendents. Congratulations, Christian. Next, we have Nogales Patterson. Nogales, if you could come on up. Welcome. Nogales Patterson has a goal-oriented mindset, is a leader, and he takes ownership of his learning, possesses good manners and right conduct. He is an independent and active learner as well. In addition, he demonstrates academic initiative and inspires positive behavior in others. He has also won several Taekwondo championships. And as you can see, and I have total confidence this is going to happen, He aspires to be the president of the United States one day. Don't forget about us little people. Outstanding character, leadership, and goal setting, and he's a peer role model. So with that, Nogales, once again, this is says the same thing, Mountain View to Nogales Patterson. Thank you for making our district above the bar. Keep up the great work, and good luck. You all. Dominique. Dominique is from Calabasas. Welcome. Dominique is a student who everyone should know. She is a student who is meeting our portrait of a graduate and excelling in her academics and extracurricular activities. Dominique is a stellar student in all of her classes. I happened to have opportunity to be in her band class one day, and she was helpful with starting the beat while students were practicing. She is always willing to help without being asked. Dominique is also involved in the Kind Club, FBLA, Stugo, and Cash Club. She is always willing to lend a hand to her peers and any faculty. We are so proud of her hard work, Cougar Pride. So with that, Dominique, congratulations and all that you do for Calabasas and making it above the bar school. And thank you from our district. Fernando, come on up, big boy. I know Fernando, I've had the opportunity to coach Fernando. And they talk about someone who keeps you on your toes. This young man right here keeps you on your toes. Fernando has shown tremendous gains over the past 2 years. Fernando entered 6th grade at CTMS with both academic and behavioral challenges. As a 7th grader, Fernando has been able to overcome many of these obstacles. Fernando made a conscious commitment to work and improve on his challenges. With help from Fernando and committed staff, a personalized plan was created to meet his academic and behavioral goals. Fernando is excelling both academically and has matured as a middle school student. He has taken ownership of his learning, achieving more than he thought possible, which has even surprised himself. If this isn't enough to celebrate, he also decided to become involved in sports such as wrestling and baseball this year and basketball last year. It is evident that he is committed to improving and becoming the best version of himself. Both staff and peers have noticed this positive change in Fernando, and we look forward to continuing to see further growth next year. Congratulations, Fernando. Attaboy. In our district and above the bar district and school.
Thank you.
And good luck in your game today. Last but certainly not least, Ileani Slava, if you'd like to come up, representing Rio Rico High School. I was also had the pleasure of being her principal, I believe, at Calabasas, and the smile that she has right now is the same smile that she had as a middle school student, and didn't surprise me in the least that she's standing up here in front of the board today because she's quite a young lady. This comes from Mr. Estrada. Ileana is an amazing student with a special heart and a commitment to excellence. As a school, we believe in the core values of relationships, excellence, and pride. As a student leader, Ileana has fostered and built positive and authentic relationships on campus with students and faculty alike. Her commitment to excellence is incredible, as she's meticulous about doing everything above the bar. Not to mention, she's ranked #1 for the class of 2023. It's pretty impressive. Did you get your speech ready? Okay, she's working on it. And pride, she exudes pride as she's involved in AP classes, National Honor Society, Photography Club, FBLA, Link Crew, and just an overall great representation of the amazing students at Rio Rico High School. Ileana has it. And sometimes one can't describe what that is. One just knows. I'm proud of you, kid. We rep, and that's from Mr. Estrada, but I echo those sentiments as well. So Ileana, congratulations. Thank you so much for making Rio Rico High School in our district above the bar. Thank you so much, board, and we look forward to recognizing some more people that are doing outstanding things in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fanning. I think you said it best when you said that we're here for the students. That's our primary reason. And we should never lose focus of that. I just wanted to say that Nogales is quite the crowd pleaser. This is the second time we've talked about you, Nogales, and you did such a spanking good job at that inquiry lab, knowing your stuff, and you're a good speaker. So yeah, we expect you to be president, okay, and try to dish a little money out our way to our community in the future. Public education. And Elian, I want to say that you remind me of my daughter, because I asked her the same thing. This valedictorian thing kind of fell in her lap. She was always the number 3 student throughout her career. And then one day she woke up in March and found out that she was the number 1 student. So then of course I asked her a week later if she had started to work on her speech. And she told me the same thing that you did, which is I'm working on it. But thank you so much. Good job, Mr. Fanning. You're a great public speaker, the mayor of Rio Rico. Yudoki. So ADM construction update. Mr. Shadler?
Thank you, Mr. President. As you know, that we've been meeting to the audience moment to thank you all parents.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good job.
Let us talk. No, that's why I asked, but he said no.
I didn't want to, I just.
I'm gonna- Pause, but I'm hearing this.
They're all ours.
Yeah.
So I know that I wrote an invite to you all and you guys got it via email, but I wanted to personally invite you guys to create a.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you're the one that sent it. Yes,
It's a lot.
yes, thank you very much.
Appreciate
This goes.
Thank you very much.
I hope to see you guys all there.
Thank you, Minta. Yes, definitely, definitely. Thank you.
One from Ms. Fabian?
Ms. Fobion?
No.
Lilian, would you like to leave one for Ms. Fobion?
One board member
She's not there. She's not here, but she'll be back.
who's on her computer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Minta.
Okay. Third up the stands. ADM construction, Mr. Shadler.
All right, thank you, President. And so as you know, we bring ADM in front of the board to just give an update on our project. So I'd like to invite Brian Crawford as his team here as well. So Crawford, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me tonight. I'll just go ahead and jump right into this. So as we know, we have several projects going on at the campuses, and one of those projects is the installation of the security measures, the card reading cameras and things like that. Right now, we don't have any slides of this one because we are at the final stages of this, the closeout phases. And the connection and to the networking and all that kind of stuff. So we're at the very end of this one. Moving on. You have control?
No, I do.
Okay, thank you. Again, the field lighting upgrades, we're at the very tail end of this one as well. We have a little bit of adjustments to make for the SES gear, and then this project will be done. We're looking at probably 2 more weeks on this one and then closing out. Another slide showing this. Again, this will be because of floodplain, we have to raise this up just about a foot. Obstacle course, this one's a good one. Over the last few weeks, we have had 2 meetings, the design kickoff meeting on the 1st. We also had a follow-up meeting on the 24th, where we showed the design concepts and what we're looking at doing. We had 3 options available. We reduced it down to 1 primary location. It's going to be right down here by the switchback ramp at the south end of the new football field. That gives us good location and things like that. We've got preliminary designs together from our consultant. And we are going to be sharing those with the district. And I think our next step here will be to have one more follow-up meeting, make sure everyone's on the same page. And then hopefully get this awarded and that project will start moving forward. Let's see, next. Another good one to talk about is the swimming pool. We did receive 2 bids in February 17th. Those bids were brought in by Mills Design Group and by Durazo. Both of them were a little high, so we went and asked and got best and final offers from both. And currently, MDG, Mills Design, came in still a little high, but they did come in lower than Durazo again. So I believe that's an action item you guys have later this afternoon or evening, is to award that or not. So anyway, this is a good step. We've got a contractor who potentially on board, and this project may be moving forward real soon. The CTE Fieldhouse still on hold. We're still waiting to find out if we can get additional funding from the SFB to help supplement and get this one rolling. So no news on this one. Again, this is moving forward into the Rio Rico High School. Lots are going on this one. As you know, we have the building 900, which is to the south of the main entry. We also have the 1000 and the 1100 portion. And I will move forward with this. Skipping to the next. So we have going on, this is the 900 building. The stucco is has been put on all the way around the building. It is drying and curing. Tomorrow, I believe they have a water test just to make sure that it's at levels. The inside is being taped and textured. That means drywall is up and they are putting on the tape, and following that will be the texturing of the walls and then paint and things like that. So the interior of this one is moving along very well. This is another shot of the corner. Also in place, the glass has come in and those are put in the windows as well. So it's just one of those things of drying out or drying in and just moving the project along. Next slide. This is an interior shot showing that the drywall is in place. Like I said, tape and texture has begun. So that does not show in this shot here. Additional ductwork has been going on and the electrical and things like that. So this one's moving along well. This is okay. Moving on to the real big one. This is the cafeteria and media center expansion. This shows that we are now fully above the grade. We are now at the courtyard level here, where they have been erecting steel, and I believe Thursday they are actually going to start pouring their floor slab for the cafeteria expansion and that new media center. That's that second level or first level, depending on where you're standing, actually. They are also getting ready to start flying steel on this one for the overhead to round out the upper portion, the roof structure and things like that. Next slide. They have been cleaning this little alley here. They've been cleaning up, removing the scaffolding and getting this ready because this is where the grand stair will be going. The stair is completely fabricated and on site in location. It just needs to be moved over and set in place and things like that. They have not been able to get to this because of the tight quarters. This is where they're actually loading block for the walls. So now that the walls are erected, they can start putting in the stairs. Next. Again, this is a shot showing of our second level. You can see that it's at this point just dirt. We have our base down, we have our wire mesh and our vapor barrier, and we're ready for the slab. And another shot showing. And that's it. Could you go back one slide, Jim? I just wanted to make mention that currently, with the grace of you, we've had substantial completion extended to the 6th or to the June 1st. right now, they are doing their best, SD Crane's doing their best. But we did want to bring up that we may be seeing additional delays. We are not asking or proposing any additional extensions, but I just wanted to let everyone know that it may be forthcoming. And that date might be pushing out. SD Crane has come up here in case you wanted to ask any questions regarding the delays or anything like that. Keith Burns and Brian Donovan have both come up. So if you'd like to ask any questions, we can answer.
Ms. Vasquez?
I just want to know, what did you mean about the stairs?
The stairs,
Yeah, that you have them ready, but so they're not going to be concrete, they're gonna be movable? I didn't.
no, the stairs are a grand staircase going between those two alleys.
Oh, yeah, I understood that, but I just didn't understand what.
They haven't been set in place. The concrete columns the steel columns have not been attached to the footings yet, and they had not been connected. Because they were using that space as a staging area for block.
So does that mean that the stairs were already able to be moved?
No.
Okay,
So now that the scaffolding has been removed
Mhm.
and they have cleaned that all up, that's their next step, is they're going to anchor that all in place, and then they're going to set all that steel and concrete there.
It'll be
Solid.
Solid will be.
Yes.
That kind of, I didn't understand because they kind of said they're gonna put them in, and I thought they were made and then they were gonna be put in so that, you know, you could take them off. It just in my mind, that's kind of like.
What I meant by manufactured or made is they are welded together on the stringers and things like that, like all the parts and pieces of them. And they're actually on site and just ready to be connected and tied all together to the building and things like that.
Okay, another thing that you said are the cameras, when are they gonna be up and running?
Right now, all the cameras are installed in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're currently working on the whole technical side of it. I can't answer all those questions. But they're tying them into the VLANs and network, and that's supposed to be done in a couple of weeks.
That's what I.
It's a lengthier process than what was originally quoted. Because they have a newer system or something that they wanted to tie these to.
Thank you very much for answering my questions, appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Vasquez. Mr. Beach?
Yeah, Brad, just looking at all the work you guys been doing, outstanding job. Yeah, I really like the projects. I really like, what I see down there. So, congrats to you and your people that, are making this happen. You did mention a delay. You got any time frame on what the delay, a couple months, 2 months, 3 months?
Right now, or we don't know. Well, what if you guys answer that, Keith? I'm gonna turn it over to them since they're the construction.
We'd like to thank the board for kind of allowing us to be here tonight. I'm Keith Burns at Keith Crane Builders. We've given, as part of like our contract and what the requirements are, we've given notification to ADM from the last time, just kind of an up to date where we're at with the project and how things are kind of ongoing with some of our continued, delays on the project as far as some of the weather that we've experienced here. And just trying to do everything we can to still strive and meet the schedule, but just as part of what our contract requirements are to give that proper notification instead of kind of waiting until the very end of the project and saying, okay, here's everything. We just wanted to say, hey, here's where we're at to date. And I think as of right now, correct me if I'm wrong, we've got about 6 weeks that we've got dates and everything for that Brian's put together and sent over to ADM and Brian and Jennifer for them to kind of see, but just trying to keep in compliance with contract.
That answer your question?
Yeah, I didn't know how long of a delay, but
We're continuing to track it.
Okay.
As the way the weather has been this year with this continuous, almost a weekly rainstorms or fronts coming in. We're just gonna keep track of it. We've thought it prudent to at least update to where we stand right now.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Kramer?
Thank you. Yeah, no, piggyback for that. So then completion was June 1st. We shouldn't expect too much rain in June, because we don't get too much rain in June. And probably towards the latter part of May, kind of close. So there's a good 6 weeks that hopefully you guys can get caught up. So I'm just, how far behind are you right now based on that finished substantial completion date? I guess that would be the question I think
Yeah.
Mr. Beach was trying to get, but you know, at least precisely where are we at as far as weeks?
Like I mentioned, we.
6 weeks?
6 weeks at this time,
So we're looking at the middle of July,
potentially, yes.
but then that's when the rains kick in. And last year that set you guys back 3-4 weeks even after that.
Correct, but by that time, everything should be dried in like the roof, so that even if we are experiencing weather challenges at that point, it shouldn't affect the slowdown or stoppage of the project, because we can then work inside. The challenges that we've been experiencing as we're trying to lay the block and those things, when it is too wet, to, mix materials and do those kinds of things, you're not allowed to by specifications. So we have to stop and wait till the block isn't, say, soaking wet and dried out before we can move forward. So that's just some of the challenges that we've had. But like you talk about, say, in May and June, we should be past that point where the roof is on, dried in, and we're just going to town on the inside of the building at that point.
So we're still pushing the start of school.
Correct. We are at this point, at this
I
time.
mean, it's gonna be like a give or take about 10 days there,
No,
based on what you just said right now.
Correct, you are correct. And we fully understand that. We're already working weekends and things as it is right now, trying to push to catch up and make some of those days and timeframes up, because we do not want to affect the start of school. More than anything else, that is our absolute goal, is that the start of school is not affected at all.
Well, very good. I guess that's the clarification I was looking for. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Well, I have a question for Ms. Brown. What are the ramifications of the deadlines not being met? Does it cost our district any money?
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. At this point, I have not performed a cost analysis or an impact. We do not have any, we did not have any plans for that area. The Rio Rico High School summer program is to be performed the rest of the. So I don't have anything right now there I can assess against with the delay. They are mentioning this evening.
Mr. Verdugo, do you have anything to say about that?
No, again, this is something that we've been working with. The board approved the substantial completion change date initially. And this is an additional time frame to that, because you remember it was supposed to be done actually this next week. April, I believe, was the substantial completion date, and then we moved it to June 1st, and now this is additional weeks. But yeah, I understand that this is continual process, and I know that we're working through it with ADM as well as SD Crane to make sure it gets done.
Well, then I'm asking that you please check into it, both you and Isela, to find out what the wording is on the contract with regard to not fulfilling deadlines, because it really bothers me that we don't meet the deadlines. It would have been one thing for it to happen once, but this is going on, and I don't want to see any more of these kinds of things. I've said it before at other governing board meetings. I was pretty angry at one of them where I quoted Larry the cable guy and said, "Get her done." That's what I want to see. I want to see people meeting their deadlines. I mean, our administrators know, our admin team knows, if a teacher doesn't meet a deadline, what happens to them? The consequences for it. So this is the way it should be for everybody. Everybody should be held accountable to deadlines. So I would like for you to please check see what the contract states with regard to that. Because if punitive damages are owed to this district, then we have business to discuss here.
Let me just, since this is not the first time that we've gone through this
Right.
exercise, unfortunately. The contract language states that we will need a formal written justification from our architects. And our architects are to analyze the request for the extension from the contractor and then come to us with the recommendation. That is the exact same exercise that we did last time we discussed the extension. So today's, it was just a point of discussion, just as an informational item for tonight, but it is one that's going to come back to the agenda as an action item.
Okay. Just want to say, I hate to be such a stickler about it, but we owe it to the taxpayer. So we're responsible. We owe it to them. So thank you.
Mr. President.
Yes,
Or,
yes, you may.
Brian,
Yes.
architectural on this. Can you give us then some, not right now, because this is a little homework assignment then. Since you do this for a living, I would like to know, based on what we're going through with this process. You are from the valley, great state of Maricopa. Does this happen up there in Phoenix to a lot of the school districts up there, that constant? I'd like to know that, not right now, don't give me a yes or no, because I'd like to see other districts that have gone through what you've worked with, if they've had delays the last 2 or 3 years, much like we've had. And not just with this, we've had it with other areas as well. I would certainly like to see that, because it seems to me that I don't think in Tucson or with Pima County, Pinal or Maricopa would have these continuous problems. If there wasn't, and if they did, there'd be a lot more hellfire going on in those districts among the parents, taxpayers, and everything else. So I would certainly like to see that if we're just being like patronized, and I don't think that our taxpayers deserve that either.
Yeah, we can do some backup and fact finding research, but candidly, I could just tell you right now, yes, we are having extreme problems with not just ADM, not just SD Crane, but with all of our contractors and all facets. Yeah, especially in the schools or the larger markets.
Right, and again, I didn't want the verbal response. Yes, if I was saying I was from a state, from Missouri, what's their motto? As a geography teacher, it's the show me state. I said, don't throw words at us, show us. Okay? Because then we can then show in our PowerPoint to our taxpayers that yes, it's just happening, not just here, but across the state,
Really? Okay.
right? That's a number.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Anything? No? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Beach, for the kind words.
Yep, definitely.
Right along. See, oh, did we have to take a? Okay, so moving right along, Rio Rico High School newspaper update, Mr. Shadler.
Yes, thank you, President. So, Mr. Estrada, principal from Rio Rico High School, of course, he shared a memo with the board, it's in your packet. He's also, he wanted to be here in person, but as the incoming president-elect for ASA Secondary Division, he was afforded the opportunity to attend the NASSP National Conference in Washington, DC. So he is, it's like he's in his hotel room there, he's joining us remotely, and he is here to answer any questions you may have about the memo that he presented. So, Mr. President or Mr. Estrada?
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the governing board, next administration. Everyone hear me okay?
Gotcha.
We can hear you.
So following our, what was it, 2 board meetings prior to this one, we decided that I should go back and feedback regarding the school newspaper. Mr. Ramirez, president, and I discussed governing board meeting. So in the memo, I shared 2 links with feedback from students and feedback from our faculty at Rio Rico High School regarding the newspaper. In addition, I summarized feedback from our last site council meeting held in March. The school was also the topic at site council. So in reviewing the student feedback, I had 9 responses from that form. And what I covered up in there is just personal information. So if anyone's wondering, that's looking at the Google responses. The questions that I asked the students and gained information whether they thought it should be a club or a class, if students would be interested in reading it, if they would be engaged. And so we had 39 total responses from students. Of the 39 that responded, 19 that stated they would be interested in the newspaper. And I'm sure you are all able to read the comments regarding feedback about the newspaper. So typically when I solicit student feedback in a survey, this was sent out to all students in Google Classroom and in an email, and in addition to the announcements and our student Senate group. Typically, I get anywhere between 150 to 400 plus responses. This is one of the smaller sample sizes I have in return feedback from students. And in regards to our faculty at Rio Rico High School, of the 17 responses that were shared, that feedback there, but one thing that was a little concerning with me was wasn't someone jumping out willing to be the sponsor or teacher of the school newspaper. During the site council meeting, parents shared their sentiments of some of them had the school newspaper when they were in high school. So they shared that experience that had to read the school newspaper, similar to how you shared, Mr. Ramirez, about the school newspaper. And ultimately, it came back to if the students and staff at Rio Rico High School like a newspaper, then they felt we should have one. So several of the concerns from site council was what's going to happen to the newspaper after people read it. Just general feedback, wanted to share and bring that back to this group for.
Are you asking us a question?
Do you have any questions about the feedback?
Ms. Vasquez?
No, so then the only thing I wanted to ask is that this went out to all of the students, the whole 1,411 students,
That's correct.
and we only got 39 responses?
Correct.
That's pretty low, that's pretty low. And as I was seeing here, there are not very many positive responses, as I see, right? There was more.
It was sort of split.
It was kind of like split for them,
Yeah.
yeah, but for 39 out of 1,400, you kind of go, okay.
Why are you trying to make-
Let's count the yeses. How many yeses were there?
19 yeses,
19 yeses.
How many maybes?
17, I believe.
19 and 17?
And there's no's, there's a no's. Yes, sir, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Just try to, the audio here is a little challenging. Can you just say, did you make a comment that between the students and the staff, the consensus whether they wanted a newspaper, or did I?
They
That
wanted it.
didn't.
They wanted it, is what he said.
Oh, that's what he said? Okay, I wasn't sure.
I just wondering if I heard you correctly, because we're having a little bit of difficulty hearing you. You're going in and out on our end.
Can you hear me better now? Maybe it's my phones.
Yes.
Sorry about that. So of the 39 responses, we had 19 yeses, with 3 or 4 nos, and the remainder were maybes. And as I shared, I typically get 150 to 400 student responses when engaging in a student survey like this, and we received 39. And the faculty feedback, 17 individuals responded of the 65 plus faculty members. And then not one of my faculty members stood out in a resounding, yes, I'll be the class club or sponsored to sponsor the newspaper. I think of the 39 individuals that filled it out on our student side, more of them were prone to want the newspaper. I just don't have a large sample size.
We can't draw any inferences from that. I mean, we take with what we have. Yes.
Thank
Just a
you.
moment.
Thank you, Mr. Appreciate it.
Mr. Kramer?
Thank you. Well, I guess you can still hear me because I talk loud anyway, right? Yes, all right. With that said, thank you. Yeah, I was a little surprised at only 40 kids. I mean, I would have put it into 2 senior or 3 senior English classes and probably got or junior classes, threw it all to the junior English anyway. That's fine. We'll base it on this small sampling of a survey. And if we got 37 yeses, including maybes. So you've got some interest of 37 of 40 kids. So if we throw it into the whole general public, we've got almost 80% of the kids that are interested in a newspaper based on this survey. We're gonna go stats and data. We got the whole, that's the majority of kids that are interested in this based on this survey. If that's where we're gonna get this survey from, if we're gonna infer anything from this survey, then we've got an Orville. And how many people do you need to run a newspaper? 1. Right? So you've got 1 person that said maybe or yes. That's right now. You might have somebody that might come in this next school year, because I know that we're having a few teachers coming in. You might find one there that said, yes, I might do this. So the way I look at it, and I'm being optimistic here, is seems to me based on this survey, 1, we've got 80% of the kids interested in the newspaper, yes or maybes. And 2 is we might be able to find that 1 person to do this newspaper for this next year. Thank you, Mr. President. That's what I'm inferring from this survey.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, with all surveys, you look at the data, what came back in, you know what, I think this is just the initial, you threw it out there, sort of got it talking about it. And at the end of the day, it comes down to the students, the faculty, the staff, whether they want it or not. So, you know, based off this survey, they know this is out there for a school newspaper possibly to be implemented. And maybe at the start of next year, maybe somebody will take it on and, you know, get a sponsor for it, or maybe part of the English class. But it has to be student driven. It has to be accepted by the faculty and staff. Those are the ones that got to embrace this. So just continue looking into it. And as far as what happens to the newspaper afterwards, recycle. Yeah, that's better. Other than that, enjoy your time in Washington. Thanks for representing Rio Rico High School in our district there, Hector.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Mr. President, may I have the floor one more time?
Yes, you may.
Based on this, well, I'm gonna say this too, from overseeing the news, as I stated before. Really, we could treat this as a AP class. And what's our numbers in AP classes are real small, right? Starting out, we could have a small class of 15 kids. So even the 15 kids that said yes, there you go. You've got a class, because the war cry in Nogales when I was there, sometimes the numbers weren't all that high. It was like 22. Exactly. But 22 kids, again, you're looking at just a certain set of students, a certain group that want to do that. So you throw it out to the whole class or the student body, you're not going to get that big sampling of, oh yeah, you know, we're gonna have a war cry or, excuse me, a hawk cry, newspaper, a Talon, and maybe we're only gonna get 15 kids, but so be it. Then it's for one class, and that's what they do. And when I was there, I don't know if it's changed, but it was a class period, and they certainly did it in class, 15 kids, 20 kids, 24, whatever. We realized maybe that it would fluctuate in the years, but certainly that's what it takes. Kicking it off, maybe the next year you start building on that. Again, I'm just bringing up what I had seen when I was down there, and that was a few years ago, but I'm sure it's still going on. So I think Ms. Thompson was overseeing it even when she retired. So for those of us who know Ms. Liz Thompson.
Yeah, Liz.
Right. So again, I'm being optimistic. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have anything to say?
Just real quick, one of the things that we will do is under Shannon's responsibility as a communication specialist. She's been working with all the school sites to get reporters and things like that. So it might fall under her purview to start out with, maybe as a club, and trying to build that, and maybe not even just Rio Rico High School, as far as maybe it would be a district-wide newspaper that she can continue to grow, and then maybe it will turn into a class at the high school, or even both at the high school and middle school, because it's something that we can, as Mr. Kramer said, build upon. And I mean, obviously it takes a few students. The Nogales International is running on 2 people right now, according to them. So it doesn't take a whole lot, I guess, to continue to run a paper. I know it's a lot of work to do that. Obviously, Nogales International does a lot of work to try to keep up with local things, but it's something that Shannon and I have talked about, and we can continue to pursue that, and it might be under Shannon to start out with. So thank you.
Well, I have a different perspective of the whole thing. To begin with, Mr. Estrada, and this is no attack on anybody. But when a teacher arbitrarily decides to do away with the print, it happened because personal view, my humble opinion, and again, it's not a reflection of the rest of the board, it's just me. I believe this was done because this was the easy street to take. Much easier to say, we got a paper online. And after a while, it became so absurd that the people here in this audience, many of them who went to Rio Rico High School, and many of them who were teachers and had an influence before, they didn't even remember the name of the newspaper after a while. So how successful could it be online? When you ask people, do you even know what the name of the newspaper is? So this idea about the print, it's absurd. And the person who dropped the ball has put us in this ridiculous position where I even feel that this isn't even a governing board issue. Why does this have to come up before the governing board? I mean, are we going to have are we going to have a poll to see who wants to take a calculus class? I think you would have a real small sampling, Mr. Estrada, as to who would want to take a calculus class too. Or do some of the other things that we currently do on the campus that are outside of core classes. Okay, if you want to say, well, Mr. Ramirez, that's a core class. Okay, well, we're going to start polling everybody to see which classes they want to take. I mean, maybe we should even poll them to ask them whether they want to have school. Wow, you'd have quite the sampling for that one. This is absurd. It shouldn't have ever come to this. And it's not your fault. Okay, this has happened before you even arrived. But I think it's ridiculous that this one individual could have such an impact on all of us here, and that we're here wasting time discussing such a thing. Sometimes adults have to get the bull by the horn and just run with stuff. I guarantee you that if a teacher did that where I am, they wouldn't go before the board. They would just say, what in the world is going on here? And they would fix the problem. And that's sort of how I feel about it. Yeah, it's important to find out how the kids feel about stuff. True, I understand it. I may differ with you about everything run from strictly the student's perspective. But on this particular issue, I don't think that it ever should have come up here. And I'm with Mr. Beach on this thing with regard, and inferences. We can't draw inferences and say, well, nobody wants it because we have a small sampling. Well, the teachers had a pretty small sampling too. That doesn't say anything because their voices count for something, the people that did speak out. So we can't just draw that inference from there. And the other thing I want to say is I'm with Mr. Beach. What do we do with it? What they asked, what are we going to do with the newspaper, the print afterward? The same thing that people do with the Nogales International. I mean, what do you do with the school newspaper? You use it to start your fire in your fireplace or recycle it somehow or another. That's absurd. So that's a moot point. But I want to say on a positive note, I want to thank you. At least you tried, you've been out there and you're trying to get this done. And one thing that I was excited about that we didn't talk too much here in your presentation was, remember you had mentioned all the different things that we could possibly do and add to it to make it more successful, like the digital kind of thing that you had discussed. And so, Mr. Verdugo, I'm happy that you mentioned that about Ms. Enciso. having a hand in this, because I think that's a great idea, an excellent idea. And maybe even Mr. Fanning could have some say in this, because, I mean, it's communication. And so you might be able to get some things out there. I mean, I know how hard you worked to pass the bond issue, Mr. Fanning, and kudos to you for that. You're out there putting signs up and doing all kinds of stuff, but it would have been nice to spread some messages out in the school newspaper too. Some of that gets back to kids. And Ms. Vasquez, I was thinking about too, how you said that, yeah, maybe Ahmed didn't keep a lot of the clippings that
Oh,
he kept.
them all.
No, but I mean, he kept some of the ones from the Nogales International, maybe
yeah.
you said,
Yeah, he did.
but it's nice when the kids have a picture or article that they saw and it fires them up, you know? And sometimes you as a principal can get messages across even to your staff and students through this newspaper. It's just, in my personal opinion, a real positive way to get good news out. And that's what it was always about, getting the good news out of Rio Rico High School. And Mr. Shattuck can tell you how many times they wrote about his cross-country team, Mr. Beach too, with regard to wrestling, especially when they were state champs. So I'm kind of sorry that it's come to this, and Fanning's always said this about me, it's true, I come across very harsh sometimes. And I hear his voice, you know, but I don't mean to attack anybody here. I just mean to draw attention to the things that I think are important here. So, does anybody else have any comments? Mr. Estrada, do you have any questions for us?
Oh, thank you. I was taking notes, and I'll go and speak with Mr. Verdugo about our next steps. I can just say we've started things on campus through clubs, and to continue to garner that student interest. Maybe we'll start it this way.
Yeah, we'll meet and discuss what the next steps are. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, and thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Of course, you're welcome.
Okay. Moving right along, superintendent's report, Mr. Verdugo.
Thank you. Just a few items. Wanted to thank Mr. Estrada and Mr. Jackson, who are in Washington, D.C. doing lobbying, representing ASA and the state of Arizona, as well as our district, doing lobbying and on educational issues. So I want to thank them for their time and being able to represent us out there in Washington, D.C. Also, the spring sports are starting. We have a lot of track activity, baseball, softball. The softball or baseball team rankings came out today for the first time. And I believe it's our highest ranking, with baseball coming in at number 5, which is the highest that since I can remember, since they've had rankings that we, and against the initial one. So we still got a long way to go, but it's the first time I think we've been in the top 5 that I can remember since the rankings have come out. And want to wish all of the schools. I know we've been doing our state testing, and everybody's working hard to get all of the testing done, and Zella and all the other things going on. So glad that the spring is coming, and we'll be ready for spring fever as well. So want the board to know that's one of the things that we always prepare ourselves for, with student discipline and other things coming up, because as the weather changes, then the activity and our students change. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dave. Governing board member reports, Ms. Vasquez.
Thank you, Mr. I told him not to, but that's okay. He does what he wants. It's okay. Thank you very much. I just wanted to say, I wanted to thank all of the principals for all your principal reports. I love them. I love them, especially the one from Mountain View, where all of the kids are playing in the snow. Oh, I thought that was so cool. I also like I think their mascot is the lion, I think. So it's a mountain lion. Okay, there you go. It's a mountain lion. Okay, and they put like a scarf over him and he's like all full of snow and stuff, and all the kids are having, I mean, a great time, outside playing and all that. I thought that was really, really cool. That was amazing to see all of them, plus all of the achievements that all of the kids do. And I like the way that every school has, their, the way that they're doing it and stuff. And their reports, how they make the reports and everything. And it was, very, very, I liked it a lot. This one was like especially, I don't know why, but I just really like this one, more. Also, I wanted to congratulate Ms. Renteria for your daughter. I saw that your daughter is in state, I think it was something like that she got like a really good award and stuff.
She was in the national qualifier, so
That's
she'll
what
be
it is.
some years on the team.
That's what I saw. I took an arrows and congratulations, good for her, because she's in wrestling, right? She's in wrestling. I had a daughter that was in wrestling too, so I know what it is, it's really, really cool. So I really appreciate all of that stuff with the kids, and I really appreciate the awards that were happening today. I thought that was really cool too. I have never seen them, here. So to me, it was like, wow, and I saw one of them, and one of them I'm related to, but I couldn't say anything, but the De La Riva little boy, okay, I think he's Eddie De La Riva's grandson, so that means that he's family, okay? I won't say anything else, okay? 'Cause anyway, we pick our friends. What can I say? But anyway, but he's like, I'm really happy that he was here and that everything that's been happening, so. Kudos to everybody. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vasquez. Mr. Beach?
Yeah, everything that Lourdes said, and just want to give a shout out to the upcoming Discover the Arts Under the Stars, April 5th. That should be exciting. And also, as on social media, saw the girls soccer alumni game is April 22nd. A lot of pulled muscles in that game.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, a lot of cool stuff coming up. We're down to our last 2 months of school. We got all the state testing done probably by the end of this week. So good job to all the teachers, all the principals, keeping them accountable, and especially our students. Hopefully they tried their hardest on that, and we get good scores as a result of all our hard work. So yep, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Beach. Mr. Kramer?
Yeah, congratulations to each and every student that's participating in all the clubs. I'll throw in there because also our FBLA teams that are middle schools and hopefully high schools, they did a great job. That's a very important club as well. And I'm glad that we got participation in that, and they're doing well competitively. Certainly spring sports, Mr. Verdugo, that's good to hear about baseball. Yeah, I think the last time we did it is when we actually got to state that one time under, I think Eli, Mr. Doyle, right? Got the team to state a few years back, but been 10 years, I think, 8 years, whatever, no less, but that's great to hear. Hopefully that continues. It certainly behooves us, and I'll certainly turn it over to the administration. To U of A released a report today. Granted, it's about U of A and what transpired there in safety. But I think of all what's gone on the last couple of weeks with safety and everybody. This report is a good report because it also details how to get everybody organized as far as things go. It's called the PAX group. I started reading it, but there's certainly some good suggestions for each and every one of us that are involved, certainly administration team. It's there, you can download it. It's probably maybe 200, but a lot of it has to do with U of A, but there's probably about 11 pages in there that we could certainly garnish some stuff out of that. It's called, and it was in the Daily Star. So I think it's important because of everything what transpired yesterday. Again, and again, we keep seeing it. And those of you that watched the videos, they followed all the protocols. Doors were locked. Doors were locked. 2 doors were locked. Yet it's still, the person still got through by shooting through the glass and getting through. So there are roadblocks at times, but those roadblocks can easily be navigated. Certainly, it's always important to stay, especially again, like I said, what transpired in this county with what was going on. So I think it's important to certainly look at that, and whatever we can gain from that would be important. So with that said, and everyone have, I guess the next board meeting is after the next holiday coming up for those that celebrate. Have a good next weekend holiday break. That would be certainly important. So, and with that, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Well, I was gonna say the same thing about wrestling. You stole my thunder there, Mr. Reese, but I would have probably turned it over to you anyway. Do the pro and wrestling, but Mimi, you and Chris are just great parents. I want to mention that. It kind of is a good segue to talking about what Mr. Shadler and I talked about recently, and that was the parenting classes that we have here in Rio Rico. I think Mr. Verdugo and I talked to you about it too. I think it's great that we have parenting classes because good parenting is, you know, I don't think your daughter would be where she is without that good parenting. And so we take for granted, you know, the parenting skills that we have with our kids and when we're successful, but I think a lot of parents need those parenting classes. And so I'm so happy that we have them. Mr. Shadler and I had a good discussion about that. And what else here? Oh, I was happy to read in the International that speaking of all of these things going on in the schools, I was happy to hear in safety that they had arrested people for the threats that they made. So amen, hallelujah, because I'm tired of our community being held hostage and adults in our school being held hostage by these kinds of thugs. And I'm glad that justice was served. And let's chalk one up for the good guys. And let's hope that maybe that'll teach the young adults in our schools to be much more careful and, as Mr. Fanning would say, to make good decisions with every day so that they don't find themselves in that hole. So. Yeah, John, you're always good about that. Telling us all, make good decisions, even adults, we have to do that. We always try it every day. So thank you so much. Thank you for your patience, my fellow board members. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, can I say one more thing? I forgot to let them, to congratulate the girls, the cheerleaders, or what are they? It's the from the Rio Rico Hawks. I don't know what they call them. They're called the what?
Hawks.
The Hawk, they're
With an X?
they're the Hawks with an X or something like that. They went to, they were the halftime show at one of the Suns game, you know, congratulations to the girls. They did amazing. They did, I mean, they sent me a clip of it and they did awesome. They look so good. Plus, the same girls, they were invited and they went to state this year. And I think it's a really good exposure for our kids because we don't get that a lot, okay, with our kids, you know, and stuff. So I thought that was really, really cool. Also, we're coming up with the 5%, you know, of our kids, the highest ones that come in. We just got a letter today and this one happens, I think, in April, something like that. Anyway, this is the new thing that's coming on, and this is to celebrate all of the achievements of our top 5% kids, and that means that they usually get anywhere from 15 to 20, 25 kids. That's a lot. Okay, that is a lot of kids that are way up there that keep a really high GPA. So, you know, kudos to them. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, RHS pool facility. Mr. Shadler.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. President. I'd like to invite Ms. Brown up to the podium. This is an action item for your attention, and we're here to award the contract for the pool. So, Ms. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening again. I just want to acknowledge that we have Kenny Mills, who is the project manager with MVP Construction with us. So just a little background on the steps that we have taken to bring this recommendation to you tonight. We're approaching the end of our bond programs, all of our bond projects. And the pool, we actually went to market in the fall. And at that time, the bid called for an aggressive schedule to try to have the pool ready for this coming summer. Well, the schedule did not attract any bidders at that time. At the time, we had 5 companies that came out and did a walkthrough where they came and they visited the area, learned about the project. But then when the time came to submit the actual bids, no one submitted it. So we went back to them and said, what? And the feedback that we received had to do with the timeline. that was listed in the bid document. So in conversations with leadership, we modified that timeline and went back to market in late January with a bid due date of February 17th. At that time, we had two bids that came in, one from Durazo and MDG Construction, who we have tonight for recommendation of award. Both bids came in over budget. The budget and the bond for the construction of the pool is $4,125,000. Okay. After much discussion and in collaboration with our architects, we decided to go back and made some modifications and requested from both bidders best and final offers. So the proposal from MDG, who came in the lowest, and the vendor that also mentioned that they could accomplish the project by April 5th of 2024, was still over budget. Well, originally came in at $4,585,000. Then the revised proposal came in $97,963 lower when we asked for best and final. That still left us with the predicament of having the project being over budget by $512,037. So we asked to look at the project and start looking at the cost associated with different elements of the pool complex. So we could start having conversations as to, is there an element that we can eliminate? Can we reduce the scope of the project? What can we do to try to bring this project within budget? Unfortunately, we were not able to accomplish that. The team felt that if we were to modify the pool, for instance, one of the items was the diving well. Individuals that have knowledge, not me, about what it takes to have, what the structure should look like to have the full experience for a swim team, calls to have a diving, so that we would not sacrifice the program for the students and the experience for our students as well. So when we learned that, then we knew that that was an element that we must have in our complex. Then we had the conversation about the shade structures. Then Arizona, you soon realize that you must have shade for the public and the athletes. So that was the end of that conversation. And then we went on and had discussions about the pool heater. And at that point, you're having discussions about an element that was in the $30-some thousand, $40,000. Yet the impact of not having the pool heater seemed to exceed, the cost of the element. And then we came to the splash pad. Then we went back, and I can tell you that as a team member that went out and educated the community about the bond, the splash pad was certainly one of the elements that was presented to different community groups as something that was going to be available to them as a result of the bond program. So we felt that we could not really compromise any of those areas with the goal of accomplishing a savings or to bring the project within budget. So then the question comes and says, well, then what, right? So, and this is a second item that you'll see on the agenda. But then we started to see what other funding sources could we pull to offset the amount that we were over budget, to be able to have all those elements in place that I just shared with you. So we looked at the proceeds from the lease agreement with Unisource for the solar farm that is across I-19. And the amount in that fund is $410,279, still not enough. Then we said, okay, then now what? Well, the only other place would be for District Additional Assistance Fund, which is also known as our capital fund, right? And that would leave us tapping into that fund by $101,758. I've always mentioned when I do budget presentations that we have contingencies in our funds on an M&O in our operating fund as well as in our capital. moving forward with the recommendation that the district has in front of you for your review, would mean, tapping into that contingency for capital. And it would also mean depleting the funds available in the Unisource lease agreement fund. The sum of those two funds, making that commitment would make the pool, a reality. And then the bond would contribute the original budget of $4,125,000. So this action item that is in front of you tonight, this first item is for the award to MDG Construction to move forward with the construction of the pool project with the bond. Are there any questions?
Ms. Vasquez.
It's, okay, we have one here that says that we remove parts, something that say, the shade structure and keeping the splash pad and the heater and the diving, that one would give us like 475,000.
Overall scenarios.
Oh.
Those, yeah, so that spreadsheet that you're referring to came from ADM. As we were having discussions as to, so what it would look like if we remove this. And
Okay, look like, yeah, that just saying.
as we were trying to attempt to try to bring the project within budget.
Yeah, so at this point right now, if we do agree on it, it would come at budget.
So, if we award MDG as presented on the agenda, then the total cost of the project would be $4,637,037. And that includes the pool, the diving well, the shade cells, the pool heater, and the splash pad.
So it would be the total thing.
Would be the complete pool.
Thank you for clarifying.
Which the feedback that we received is that it would have all the elements necessary to have a complete experience for the swim team.
Thank you.
Mr. Beach.
Yeah, Isela, thank you for all the hard work you and your team have put in to narrowing down everything to what we got to right now. And I'm a firm believer, if you're gonna do something, do it right. And don't cut corners, you know, for the families with young kids. I got grandkids at Splash Pad. That's where we'll be. The diving board already got me excited. I'm gonna practice my double gainer on my trampoline. So
Did you sign your waiver?
I gotta sign my.
We already have one.
Yeah. In the shade structures, yeah, we live in Arizona,
With speedos.
300 days of sunlight. Got them. But that's what that contingency fund's there for, things like this. And it is an important project, especially for our community. And so, yeah, just thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you. Ms. Vasquez, did you have any?
Nothing. Shut up, I know.
Mr. Kramer?
Thank you. Certainly. So thank you. I've known, we go back for years. And I know you with the budget, you're like me, you want to make sure we pinch every penny and save it for the district. And based on that, I definitely will trust the fact that, yes, you did go out there. Yes, I think the pool was the selling point. The bond did get passed. Because I don't think if we would have had it on there, it may not have gotten passed, because it was close. And I think that pool was the selling point. As you said, you went out there and certainly, yes, that was good for everyone that did that. I think having the pool, like utilizing the money that Unisource, obviously with our contract, and we're putting into it, whatever remaining amount from the capital certainly is important. I think it's very good. See this gentleman sitting in front of you, have anything to do with this pool? No? Okay, I just was wondering. Anyway, then nevertheless, I think it's very important and I think it's good. And hopefully that Unisource, not only once we get that facility, maybe they'll have another project for them to actually put something down there to offset the cost for electricity, because I know that eventually that cost is going to come up to us. And that cost of maintaining pools just in your backyard comes to about $20,000 on a yearly basis for chemicals, for electricity, for everything that goes with water. And I could say that was probably I don't even know the cost. And we haven't even talked about that yet. But it's certainly something that we're gonna need to be bringing up as well. What's that cost? And I know we talked about the county and everything else partnering. That's still further away down the road here, but certainly thank you for that. And that it's very important for the community. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're very welcome.
I feel confident that we are taking the proceeds from the Unisource lease agreement and reinvesting them in our facilities in an element that is going to set the district apart in our county and for our community. So I feel good about the decision.
Anybody else have anything to know? Well, first of all, I want to give Mr. Kramer his credit because he's been very critical about our solar farm and asking for more money with regard to that. So thank God that he did that early on and that we discussed that thorny issue. Because I think when Mr. Rich was here, we didn't have quite the money that we were getting from that solar farm, but Mr. Dugo took action on it after Mr. Kramer had brought that to our attention. So thank God, because we have this money now. And thank God that we have that additional $400,000 plus to complete this. And I agree with Mr. Beach, like, let's get it done right. And we've been criticized in the international times for not getting it done on meeting the deadline. But let me reassure everybody that we work hard and the admin works hard to try to do this. And one of the things that wasn't discussed in the paper was that, because I don't think they were aware, even though they got the information was disseminated to them. There's no excuse, by the way. They're on our list, as Mr. Redugo says, of the people that receive this information. So, but one of the things that wasn't discussed was the fact that we had strict deadlines, but that was kind of hurting us because we had these tight deadlines that a lot of people couldn't meet. And so nobody wanted to make a bid, from what I understood. And so this caused a delay. And I want the public to know that was one of the main reasons it caused a delay, is that our timeframes were too strict. They're too restrictive. And so we didn't get the bids. So of course, when we did get it, we finally got the bid, it has caused a delay. And like Mr. Beach said, we want to get things done right. And I know that you've worked really hard to protect the taxpayer, good guardian of our funding here, Ms. Brown. I mean, you do an excellent job. That's why you're our CFO, because you do such a good job. But I just want to say that maybe we should look into it again with regard to the solar farm and see what we can get from Unisource in the future, because I agree with Mr. Kramer. I think we could still even ask for more with regard to that, but
Just for clarification, I wasn't really referring that because that's a done deal over there. I was talking about creating more solar down here
Right.
for heating and cooling and everything else down in that area that we're gonna have the pool at. That's what I was, maybe shade, because we have parking there, shade structures down there, which would be solar panels. That's what I was inferring, just for clarification.
Okay. Well, at any rate, well, thank God that we have the money and that we're moving ahead with this and that somebody gave us a bid and that we're able to move on it. Of course, we want to see the completion of this, and then we wanted to discuss the maintenance of it as well. Because people, that was also a secondary issue that was very important to the public. They wanted to know, what are we going to do to maintain this and how much is it going to cost? So thank you, Ms. Brown, for the presentation. Any more comments?
Just real quick, some of the costs, as we're talking costs, obviously, as Mr. Kramer mentioned, that we want to look at some partnerships community-wise with the county, and that will, come in the future. But also part of the cost is in the override. So that's one of the other things that we, when we went to the community, not only asking for the bond funds, but we knew that there's going to be escalating costs in our M&O. And so part of the cost for the pool is set aside in our override as well, for maintenance, personnel and so forth. So just to clarify that for the board as well.
Yeah, I also want to clarify that I'm really happy about, these people bringing that up in the paper, because it just shows how, vehemently they want to get this done. So that's great, you know, that they're all behind this. Awesome. So thank you so much again for your presentation. Okay, so do I hear a motion to award
Go ahead,
MDG
Isela.
construction
Do you have anything else?
Nothing else.
Okay.
Just waiting for the approval.
For the
Oh, yeah.
construction of the pool complex at Rio Rico High School, bid award IFB 2303 as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I hear a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes 4-0. Okay, subject B, additional funds for school for RHS pool. Mr. Shadler?
So again, Ms. Brown has provided a memo to the board and also explained the need for additional funds. It is still available if you have any additional questions.
President,
Yes.
I think she explained it very well to where I could say I make a motion to authorize the use of proceeds from the Unisource Energy Lease Agreement to offset the cost of Rio Rico High School pool as presented.
I second the motion.
Okay, I hear a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion passes 4-0.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Reclassification of human resources manager. No, Mr. Verdugo?
Yeah, thank you. This position, we knew that Ms. Quiroz was retiring this year. And so we've actually had this position open since last July, when we posted it, and we've had 0 to no applicants for the position. And looking at one of the reasons why is because it is in a lower level. And it's something that other districts are facing. I think when I've talked to the board, I shared that Sahuarita had the same issue and they had to reclassify the position. Their position was actually open for almost a year and a half before they filled their position, and they moved a principal into that role. So tonight, what I'm requesting is that we reclassify the position to an HR director, which is a certified administrator level, so that we can possibly do the same thing that one of our neighboring districts is move somebody into that position at our next board meeting. And so the request tonight is to be able to reclassify that position to an HR director. I can answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, Ms. Vasquez,
I understand.
Mr. Beach?
No, Mr. Verdugo, you said a HR director. It says HR manager. Is that the same? Or
It'll be moved from HR manager to HR director.
HR director.
Gotcha. Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beach. Mr. Kramer?
Yes, Mr. Verdugo. So this position that we are changing is in just kind of a title and only, but it still we would consider it an administrative position with the same benefits, 12-year contract, everything that goes along with that.
Correct. It'll be a 12-month contract, and it would be a certified administrator as far as the benefit package included, such as the family insurance and so forth. It is a 12-month, and the job description is obviously very similar, but there will be additional things, training and some professional development that we will hope to be able to expand in that position.
Are we then looking at when we're moving this position, but we also eventually could maybe change it if this position is filled with someone that does get training to go back into the human resource manager?
If we do change the position, yes, I mean, it would depend.
And whoever you hire for this position, is they put in that position, if they get all the whatever the requirements of a human resources manager, then we can certainly move that position back. Is that correct?
To reduce it back, if we're able to get candidates, yes, we could, but the
Okay, the director is a higher position.
director is a higher
Thank you.
position, correct?
Thank you for clarifying for that, Stephen. That's even better than why would we regress?
Yes, so
I
that,
was
yeah,
asking, I didn't understand why you were doing.
Yeah, that's good. That's better, director.
yes.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome. I have nothing. So do I hear a motion to approve the reclassification of human resources manager to human resources director as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion passes 4-0.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you, Mr. Verdugo. Thank you, Mr. Shabbat. Propose and prioritize topics and possible dates and times for future board meetings. Does anybody have anything that they would like to add to a future board meeting? on the agenda, anything? Vasquez?
No, the only thing I wanted was that I didn't understand last time and I asked the question without, without it being on the agenda was the clarification of what it meant. Remember when we had so many teachers and then it had, I didn't bring it with me, I'm sorry. But
The number of
That's fine.
unfilled vacancies.
yeah, but because it said there was
Yeah, I
a
did
couple
that
of
one.
things. Yeah, I had a couple of titles on the top. And I asked a question that I didn't understand what that one meant, one of them meant, and I just wanted clarification. And so I want to put that one on the agenda for next time.
Maybe we could add that with what I had requested.
Yeah, he requested something too.
Have the people actually listed with who's certified and who isn't.
Yeah, and then you wanted to know also like how many people are in math and the arts and, like kind of like break it down a little bit more.
Right, I remember that, and so that was we had that as an FYI, we amended the original, and I know we can talk about this, but.
Yeah.
And you were, well, I understand, you were looking for definitions of what, the headings.
Yeah, the heading, because there was one that said, okay, these teachers, this amount of teacher are certified, this amount of teacher are non-supervised because of something or other. And then there was another one and I didn't understand because, it was a third one.
So there's an FYI in the board packet. But I will work to fully clarify the definitions for you.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
because I believe they were included in the packet for Mr. Ramirez's request and for this meeting. Is that correct, Mr. Shadler?
Yes, that's correct. They're broken down by elementary, middle school and high school.
Right. We requested the names as well, for the people who are certified and who are not just the numbers.
Okay, we can do that. Thank you.
So that was mine.
Kramer?
I'm just looking at that. Yeah, there's no names on there, but it's in there.
Right.
Yes, I would certainly like to bring up on this vast list of future topics now. Is that where we're at with sub pay, as far as what we're paying for our subs, be it full day subs as compared to other districts, because I think that's important. And two is, where are we at as far as when a teacher subs for one period of a day, as opposed to neighboring districts of what they're paying?
It's a good question.
I know we always want to remain competitive. I won't talk about it other than that. Otherwise we'll get too far ahead.
The daily as well as period subbing.
Exactly. Where are we at with that?
Anything else?
And the second one is, if it's just an FYI, but certainly it would behoove just to get it, because I was looking around on the calendars, both at sites and district. And what I could come up with was that date and time for testing was from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. So I didn't have an answer for somebody that asked me what was going on with the testing and why are some kids out and some kids are in school? What's going on? And I said, well, that's from 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. Just giving them the response off that. I didn't do that. I'm being facetious. But I told them, I said, what I usually knew was that sometimes school dismisses and only half the kids are there, but I don't see anything in there explaining that.
The dates and time.
Well, just, yeah, I mean, for whatever testing was, for instance, last week, was half the kids here and half the kids weren't. Right? Which should be at least posted somewhere. I may go out to parents, but still. It always looks good on our website if that's there. So us as the board members, I don't know what's going on.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Beach? I have none. Thank you. I'd like to have a discussion about AI, about artificial intelligence, because I feel that this is going to be quite the challenge in the future. And I want to make sure that we maintain our academic and intellectual integrity. Sure, a lot of you have heard of what this artificial intelligence is doing, and we have to have some kind of defense and stay ahead of the curve because of the problems with plagiarism and that kind of thing. It's unbelievable what this thing can do. Write people's essays for them, things like that. So we have to have a way to know whether people are plagiarizing. And so we have to stay ahead of this one. I'm asking that we have some discussion about that. Admin could look into and see what we're gonna do. We have a contingency plan where we are, and I just want to make sure we do too. Yes, sir.
We've begun looking into it, but I've made a note as to bring back more information.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else, anything else? Okay, so moving right along, consent agenda. Any matter on the consent agenda will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed as regular agenda items upon the request of any board member. Does any board member have anything they would like to request to be removed and discussed? Vasquez?
No, not right now.
Mr. Kramer?
No, I'm good.
Mr. Beach?
Have nothing.
I'm good too. So do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Second.
A motion second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. And as we have no further things to discuss on this agenda, this meeting is now over at 6:31. Good night and good luck.
Thank you all.
You want to do the board consent?